Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at a Logitech G413 keyboard. This is the one with the Roma G keys, marketed more as a gaming keyboard. I've got two of them. One of them had an enter key that bounced every time you, or nearly every time you pressed it. So you'd hit it once and get two, sometimes three key presses. And this one I'm going to look at now has got an E key that's doing exactly the same. And I reckon it's the same fault. A bit of Googling around suggests that it's actually the key switches themselves that are the problem. But that's not what I found in the last keyboard. The last keyboard I found a cracked solder joint, and I found a key switch that literally fell out when I removed the keycap. So maybe this one will be the same and I'll end up with two working keyboards. So yeah, let's dig in and see what we find. Okay, so as you can see, this keyboard is, well, you probably can't see all that well actually, but it's kind of filthy. So these actually aren't too hard to work on. They're just a bit tedious. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, is take the keycaps off, and trusty keycap puller for that, and we'll just work our way through them. Hopefully we don't actually pull any key switches. I mean, this is what I was doing with the other keyboard, and literally pulled the F5 key that I just removed the cap off. Just this basic amount of force pulled the key switch clean out of the circuit board. Right, that has got the keyboard apart. You can see, how filthy it is. You'd never guess that we had a cat. This is like cat fur and all sorts of. Just look at it. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I'm not going to do a full cleanup of this keyboard. It's a nothing special keyboard. It's not like it's a prized keyboard off some retro collectible computer. It's just an average daily driver sort of keyboard. So I'm not going to go too silly cleaning it up. It's not worth it. So I will hit it with some compressed air though. Well, it's not really compressed air, is it? It's actually a can of, I think this stuff's actually refrigerant. Yeah, R134A refrigerant. So yeah, you don't want to be breathing too much of that stuff, I wouldn't think. Anyways, so the next step in this process, you can see all the fur and stuff that came out of that keyboard. It's disgusting. So next part of the process is under these 2 feet there are screws. Just get the fuzz off there. So I'll be doing it later. So these 2 have screws under them. These other ones don't. So, and I have no intention of putting these particular trying to get this without stabbing myself. I'll do it with a hook. So I have no intention of putting these particular feet back on. I always use the keyboard with these extendable sort of feet, so I don't need those anyway, so there's no point in me putting them back on. So undo a couple of screws. Just put these over to the side, try and not lose them. All right, that's the easy part of the process done. Now there are a bazillion screws on the top of the keyboard. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have I got them all? I suppose the real test will be whether the bottom comes off. No, I must have missed, I missed one. There we go. So what did I count? 27. This is 28. And they're all the same, those little screws. So here we go. We now have the back off, and we have to be careful here because this is where the cable connects. It's a little hard to see, but we need to undo this ground connection. So that's disconnected. And that's the little silver screw. And I'll get my needle nose pliers just to remove. Oops. I'm being a little brutal, but come out. It doesn't want to come out by itself. I had this trouble with the last one. Right, so that's the base of the keyboard off. So now we can get rid of that for the moment. Don't need that just for now. And then we need to take this off for no other reason than there are key switches under here we might want to just inspect. That's a self-adhesive pad, so we'll put that somewhere where it's not going to stick itself to the bench. Now, there's also screws. There's one there, and one there. There's no point taking those out. They hold the PCB in place, but unless you've desoldered all of the key switches, you're not getting a circuit board out of there anyway, because these key switches have to go back through the aluminium plate, and that's just not going to happen. So, my problem key was, on this keyboard, was the E key. So the E key is going to be QWE. So here somewhere. And they are actually marked on the board, believe it or not. There it is. There's the marking of the E key. See what we've got. Yep. And we have a broken solder joint, just like we had on the other keyboard on the Enter key. So, just move some of these over. I kind of expected this would be the case. So I'll just get the little microscope out and see if we can't get A little bit of a view of that. It's in here. There it is. It's that one right there. You can see the E on the silk screen just to the left of it, and there's your broken solder joint. So that's exactly what I found on the other keyboard. It was just on the enter key. So we'll have a look at the enter key on this one as well, see if it's suffering the same fate. No, that one's not looking too bad. It's the upper and lower contacts there. It's looking all right. Now the other one I had a problem, the other key I had a problem with on the other keyboard, what that looks like on this board. F5. Yeah, it looks all right on this board. Anyway, so this E key, being that it's lead-free solder, I imagine it's lead-free solder, we will just remove what we can of it and then resolder it. We'll remove it because, as I understand it, lead-free solder has a different melting point to leaded solder, and if you mix the two, you can end up creating a layer where it'll be prone to cracks again. We don't want that. So the E key was where? Try it. QWE, that one. So it's that one there. And that one there. So I know where they are. Just wait for our set up to temperature already. It would work better if it was on. No, it's not up to temperature because it's not even turned on. That will do it every time. So, given that these keys on the keypad are probably okay, and also given that I don't use the keypad because I've never been a keypad person, I will just put this back on. You can see it lines up with the markings on the board, and just the glue just sort of roughly holds it there. I don't know what it's insulating things from. There's inside the bottom of the plastic case, there's nothing there. It's not like there's another circuit board there or anything like that. Maybe there's a different version of the keyboard. Maybe it has an LED controller or something that goes in here so you can set different colors. You know, if you've got a keyboard with multicolor LEDs, like RGB LEDs, I don't think these ones are. They look just like standard white LEDs. I don't know. I'm only guessing. Come on, there we go, it's warmed up now. So the E. Right. So we've vacuumed that one clean. I'm not going to do the other one just yet because obviously if I do that, the key's going to fall out. Oh, where's the end of my solder? My solder will have a new end in a second. There we go. And for what I can only assume is ease of manufacture, these keyboards have stupidly big holes. So that one, that's the one that wasn't actually a problem. But it's done. I'll just vacuum out the other one. Right. Don't need that anymore. Best thing I ever bought, that desoldering gun. Yeah, these holes are stupidly big. I can only assume it's so that whatever machine they've got that places the components has plenty of room to work with, because yeah, they're a pain in the bum to solder. Did that actually? I think it looks alright. Just do a quick continuity test on it. Mostly because I'd hate to put a bazillion keys back on, only to find, where's this go? Up to here? Yep. And this one goes to, no it doesn't, it goes to there. Yep. So we appear to have continuity. Right. So now we're at a point where we can put it back together. Oops, smacking the camera. So the back together part of the process is really just the straight opposite of what we did. Of course, it's not going to reach. The straight opposite of what we did before. We're going to plug the cable in. Like that. Sorry, this is a bit fiddly to see on camera. And it's the little silver screw. Not that I think it particularly makes a whole lot of difference, but that goes in there and gets flicked across the keyboard as I let it go. Right, and that just gets done up there. Right, and at this point, the back of the keyboard is ready to go back on. It just sits on there like that. And since we've got it upside down, we will put the screws back in the bottom. Once these are in the bottom, that's it for the bottom of the keyboard. Unless you want to put those feet back on. I don't, but I mean, you could stick them back on. My gut says I'm going to be back in this keyboard fixing something else before too long. Right, now the mistake I made when I was working on the other keyboard the other night was I got all excited, started putting keycaps back on, then realised I'd put none of the screws back in. So I'm not going to fall for that one twice. In they go. Two to go, and I can see where they go. Right, that's got all the screws back in. So, next thing's next. Oh, we'll put this thing back together. Okay, so I had dinner. Let's get into putting this thing back together. I am going to cheat. I have an image, a quite crappy one, but I have an image on the computer next to me to show you where the keys go. I mean, most of them are self-explanatory, but particularly down the bottom, down these keys are a bit of a, I don't use them very often, so I'm not used to what order they're in. I'm not going to go too overboard with cleaning these keys. Again, I'm not restoring a retro computer from the 80s. This is a daily driver. It's going to be filthy again before too long. So there's no point me going terribly overboard cleaning it. Now, these two control keys, they look identical. They're the same size. They are in fact identical. They can go in either position. But the reason I left these till last will become apparent in a minute. You can see in the bottom of these are the Alt keys, that the arrangement of the plastic tabs in there is different. And the key switches, which you can just see on the bench under my arms, are similarly different, of course. So even though the keys are physically the same size, and I expect they're otherwise identical, they do have to go on specific key switches. Otherwise they will not fit correctly. I'm not entirely sure why they did that, but they did. And there it is. It's not the cleanest keyboard on the planet, but it'll do the job. So the next thing to do is find a PC and hook it up and see if it works. Yeah, there's my E's, and I only get one E when I press. One E, I get an E. Press two E's, I get the number of E's that I'm entering. And all the other keys are working. going to turn numlock on, and oops, that 6 was me hitting the key twice. Yeah, yep, everything seems to be playing just nicely. So I think I could call that a win. Okay, so that's a quick fix of a Logitech G413 keyboard, the one with the Roma G keys. Despite all the posts I read online saying it was the key switches that caused the faults I was seeing, it was clearly, in both cases, the one we just looked at and the one I looked at yesterday, clearly it was just cracked solder joints. And removing that solder and resoldering it fixed the issue in both cases. So yeah, I call that a win. It saved a couple of $90 keyboards, which are otherwise quite nice keyboards. Saved them going in the bin. Saved me some money buying new keyboards. And yeah, so that's an all-round win. If you like what you saw, feel free to click that like button, click that subscribe button, and yeah, we might see you soon. Adios.